What do we have here? A late Summitar 50mm f2.0. Very famous lens, but the true legend is this camera. Hi, this is Mike talking about cameras, and today I'm going to showcase the Leica IIIf. This camera is part of a long lineage of rangefinder cameras dating all the way back to 1913, when the first prototype was developed by Oscar Barnack. He was a mechanical and industrial engineer, and this was the first camera using 35mm film. That Summicron lens was the highest quality optics 50mm available at the time. So there is a very simple screw mount on all lenses, and you can see at the back the curtain of the shutter, which exposes the film. When not in use, the lens collapses, making it easier to store, so we have to pull it out and lock it in place to then be able to use the camera properly. So that lever here is to do the focusing, and if you focus all the way to infinity, this locks in place. And to exit from the infinity setting, you have to press on the button to unlock and be able to focus at all the distances. To change the aperture, we rotate this ring so it goes from f2 to f16, and we can see here the blades. Let's have a look at the dials. First, on the right hand side on the top is the ISO selector. This is just an indicative, it doesn't do anything, but it just reminds people what kind of film is inside. So if we turn to the right, we set values for black and white, and if we turn to the left, it becomes red. So it tells people that, it tells the user of the camera that he's using a color film, and then it sets the ISO for that color film. Again, this is just an aid to remind the photographer what kind of film is inside his camera. The small lever just above the shutter release button is to disengage the mechanism to be able to rewind the film once it's completely exposed. Below the film advance button is the film counter. To change the exposure speed, we first need to wind the film and then turn the dial and take the picture. Let's try a slow speed, 1/40th of a second, for example. And as I wind the film for the next picture, notice that the counter increases by 1. This gets reset when opening the camera to change the film. The shutter speed dial on the top is for high speeds, from 1/1000th of a second to 1/40th of a second. For slower speed, there's a different dial. So we need to set the top dial to this 30th to 1. And then on the front, there's a second dial for the slow speed, from 1/30th to 1 second. So this dial is kind of weird because it has this little locking tab which you need to push to change the speed. I don't really know why. So here I have 1/10th of a second. Let's try 1 second. So wind the film. The top dial is on 30th to 1. Now I need to push the little tab to unlock and put the selector to 1, which is all the way to the left. There we go. Below the speed selector is another dial for the flash synchronization. These numbers are called contact scale. I don't really understand what they do. You just need to look them up in a table according to the flash you're using to get the proper flash brightness. The serial number tells me that this camera was built in 1951. Complete lists of serial numbers are very easy to find online, and you can determine which year any camera was built. On the left we have the film rewind button, and below it is a small lever. This is for the dioptric adjustment of the viewfinder. The viewfinder is really tiny, not very comfortable, I have to admit. On the right is the viewfinder to compose your image, and on the left is the rangefinder to focus. So rangefinder shows a smaller part of the image with two images which need to overlap and match precisely for the image to be in focus. The Leica rangefinder, a true classic. This IIIf is more than 70 years old, and as you could tell, everything works. This is a testament of the high quality of construction. All metal built to last, indeed. This beautiful design may have been considered at the time merely functional, but for me, it is undeniably a wonderful piece of art. Hats off to a true legend, the Leica IIIf, together with the Summitar 50mm f2.0. Take care everybody, this is Mike signing off.